Hey, Sidian.
Hey Dan, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for doing this. We appreciate this. This is just, as you know, this new thing we're starting where we're interviewing customers and just giving them a chance to tell us about their experience.
Sure.
Just to establish here, when we first visited you, we did a full spectrum test and we found some arsenic and barium and some chromium as well, and good amount of iron, a little bit of lead, and also some iron bacteria. Does that sound about right to you?
Yep. Yep. Sounds about right. Everything was, you know, technically within the limits, I think.
Yeah,
Bacteria was pretty bad, a lot of sediment too.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's accurate. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I guess less important than testing is what were your original concerns? Like, why did you reach out? What were you experiencing with your water you wanted to change?
Yeah. So we had moved into the house, just about 3 years ago now. So pretty recently.
Mhm.
Um, in that first year, we knew it was brand new construction, new well. We had the water tested initially when we first moved in, everything was within limits.
Yeah,
And then, over that first year, the iron bacteria was pretty bad. The water quality, inside the house was pretty bad. It was leaving stains in the toilet, showers, dishwasher, laundry machine, and so it was kind of wanted to protect the longevity of the plumbing and the appliances in the house. And then,
yeah,
health concerns, my wife's uh, coffee maker was having, the iron bacteria build up in the coffee maker and stuff like that, so,
yeah.
and with the dogs as well, so trying to look into some solutions for that. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You did you get a smell? Iron, no iron bacteria. About 80% of the time you get a rotten egg smell with that. Did you have that?
It, it wasn't quite that bad. I would say maybe, not very often.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it wasn't super prevalent, but
So you had some super minor smells, but mostly it was the staining and kind of the gunk and the
yeah,
yuck factor and
yeah,
stuff like that. As well as, even though that stuff is below the legal limit, it's slightly above the health guidelines. So, less important, a little bit of health and stuff there. So
exactly. Yeah.
after we came in, what's it like now?
It's, you know, literally the day after everything was installed, um, just crystal clear. Like it was, probably blew all of my expectations out of the water. Obviously making that financial commitment to clean up the quality of the water. I had high expectations, but it's been perfect. Yeah.
I'm, wow, perfect. That's amazing to hear. Wow, thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Um, hey, is there anything else you want to go over? Like anything else about the experience remarkable or
Um,
anything else you want to add?
I worked with Chris originally.
Mhm.
He got me all the information, worked with me on putting the quote together and all that, getting that scheduled. I'd have to look through some of my emails and notes. I forget the two guys who came out and actually did the install. Both of them were great. Um, we've had one of the things I would say is some feedback, is some of the communication has been a little bit hit and miss.
Okay.
Um, and like even these calls, I would say could be kind of used as an example,
Yeah.
where talking to Chris and initially I'd I'd let him know one of my major, not concerns, desires as part of getting the system installed was, if there is a kind of an annual or semi-annual check, service, maintenance plan we could do.
Yep.
And, it felt like, I think it was a year after we got it installed. I don't remember the specific dates,
Yep.
but seemed like there was a lot of back and forth to get that set up.
Yeah.
Because it's not, like I don't know, but I'm assuming it's not like a real asked for or fleshed out thing that you guys offer. I don't know, I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
that's what it
Well,
seemed like at least.
we definitely offer maintenance. I think what happened in your case was a little bit odd. We had right around April is when we're supposed to, because I think we got you installed in July, and or July or August of last year, right? Something like that,
Yeah.
right around there. And we're supposed to give you notice a few months before then. And right around then, we actually had somebody leave the company who was normally doing that job. And that's on me for sure. I should have made sure that the other person was trained. Oh yeah, it was September of last year. Yep. In fact, it was almost in 2 days, it'll be the anniversary of your install.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. I'm hoping that since then we've done a better job. I know that we have you scheduled for an upcoming service call here in about 3 days. It looks like we're scheduled for Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice to receive that email with the quote,
Yeah.
being, hey, we have this service scheduled coming up. So that's great. I'd say the last service we had
In April.
in April, I've been ordering the chlorine that was used originally in the chlorine tank. I know that's been recommended to me from you guys over email. When we had the service, they only had like one of those jugs, and so they topped it off with bleach, or I think they just used the bleach. And I remembered asking before, can I just use bleach in the tanks? And it was recommended that I don't.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a little miscommunication on that as far as what's acceptable and what's not. Because, I'm going to trust that the technicians know what they're doing. And
Yes,
so,
of course.
and he's putting bleach in and telling me, it's basically the same thing. It's just different dilution or, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So obviously I want to make sure I'm on the same page as what we can do, because obviously it's a lot easier for me to go to Home Depot or Walmart or something and get bleach. The chlorine I have to order on Amazon and make
Yep.
sure some,
There is a pool store down the street that sells 10% sodium hypochlorite. Let me remember where that is. I think it's called Aqua Spa, Four Seasons Pools and nope, that's not it. I will send this to you. Oh, it's Aqua Spas. It's a hot tub store and they sell 10%. They're in Gig Harbor though, so that's a bit of a ways. So yeah, it's on my.
Like I can order the chlorine off Amazon, and they'll deliver it, which is fine. And that's what.
But that should have been
Well,
communicated better. So we do the iron bacteria in an interesting way. The iron bacteria, because it's this living organism that's not really harmful to people, but it can just wreck everything, right? It's not taken as seriously in the industry. So we had to do a lot of work to find an expert to train us. We got with Roy Collimore, who trained us, and he said originally that we could use any bleach, any bleach at all, and it's fine as long as we then did the calculations on our end. But when we went back to him recently for a revisit, and that happened actually this June, he said we should start switching to the 10% sodium hypochlorite because the dilution down to 6% on some of the bottles, if you just choose any bottle in the industry, some of them are using a type of bleach that when it's diluted has a half-life that's really, really short. So we are always changing, always learning, but you're right, that would have been frustrating from your end. We do know now that the 10% sodium hypochlorite is definitely the best one for, which is just chlorine. Sodium hypochlorite is just another name for chlorine.
Yeah.
Just the 10% version of that is the best one to use for killing iron bacteria. So
Got it.
so sorry about that too.
Oh yeah, no, not a big deal, but
Yeah.
Just little miscommunication on, both sides, I feel like. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate the feedback. As you know, we always try to improve and just be as perfect with customer service as we can be. Do you have my personal cell number if you need to call me?
I believe if that's the one you called me on last week.
It's not. What I'll do is I'll text you from that number I called you on, and I'll give you my personal number, and then right after this call. And if you ever have any trouble like that, you can text me and say, hey Sid, this happened, and I'll just make sure I get right on it for you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else to go over at all? Any other stuff to bring up that the people would want to know?
I don't think so. I mean, from start to finish, from talking to Chris and him filling me in on everything and the options to the install was just seamless. Really happy with everything, how everything turned out. Huge quality of life improvement after that first day. Was pretty nice. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot, Dan. I really appreciate the call.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
All right.
I love giving feedback where good feedback where it's due. So
Thanks, man.
yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.